The parts screen is organized around the unit types, and the unit types list is in the upper right corner of the screen here. And you can define your own unit types by touching define unit types, and you get this screen which has three columns on the left which can be combined, at least any two of them can be combined. For example, if you want inch pounds unit type, you click on inches here, pound there, and you click add, and now you've got an inch pounds type. And once you have a type, you can edit the name like so, and that's what appears in your estimates, estimate reports in your estimate screen. So that's very flexible, allows you to have as many different types as you want. Now if you go back to the parts screen, let's if we're going to get rid of some of these ones I'm not using here. If you're going to add a unit type, or part type I should say, click on the unit type here, in this case feet, click on the plus down at the bottom left, and fill in the columns for that row. Code, arbitrary, alphanumeric for that particular type. You have to come up with your own codes, whatever you want to use. Vendor is optional. It won't appear there if you don't define it in the define parts screen from the estimate screen. The vendor can be literally the vendor if you're keeping track of vendors in your parts list or your labor list, or it can just be a way to subdivide your estimates and subtotal them. It's convenient to encode the vendors in the parts list, or also as well as the labor list. Then when you print an estimate or show it to the customer, it'll be automatically subdivided and subtotaled. Let's talk about tax and markup columns. Each of these means yes, include this item in the general tax, or include this item in the general markup if marked yes. If you want to exclude, for example, one particular part or a few parts from the general markup, which is applied from your preferences screen, you indicate no in this column for that item, and the same for tax. If you don't want to tax generally, put no in this item in the no column. So going back to markup, there's three ways to mark up. This markup by item, so build in the price your markup, in the price per your markup. And then if you don't want a general markup applied, put no in that column. If you just want to deal with a general markup from the preferences screen, then you would put yes, include the markup, and then your cost will be, price per would be your cost, and then whatever appears to the customer would be including the general markup that's applied from the preferences screen. And this column shows the unit, whatever you chose when you created the weight's another optional item. You don't need to, if you put weight in there, it will, and you put numbers in there. The numbers can be any unit you care, as long as you're consistent, whether it be tons or pounds or metric tons, whatever you want. Just be sure you're consistent, because it doesn't really keep track of the unit type. It's up to you. If you don't want, it'll total up the weight and put it in your estimate report. Or if you don't have no interest in weight, just don't define that on the define fields field, which is down here. Then on the lower right of the part screen, also on the lower right of the labor screen, there is a list of assemblies which you also create. Assemblies, let's see if I can find one. Here's an assembly with 3 items in it. 2 of them are labor and 1 is parts. And the thing to realize, which is key in how to use assemblies, is whatever you put in for quantity items, quantity value in these items is multiplied. When you add that assembly, or you add any assembly to an estimate, you click on the arrow to the right of the assembly item. Now you get a little screen here, the quantity. Whatever you put in for this quantity field is multiplied by all the quantities in the assembly itself. So if you want to do calculations, let's say you're in a basement remodeler and you want to estimate by a linear feet of basement, you might put in sheets of plywood. Let's say you hang them vertically so that the length of it vertically is 48 inches, or 4 feet. So you'd put in the assembly, you'd put in the 0.25 instead of 1, for example. And then when you multiply, if you put in 4 linear feet, or a quantity of, let's say you have just 4 feet of linear, that multiplied 0.25 gives you 1 sheet, so it'll calculate the number of sheets you need for that job. And there's also many things you can do. Because you can put in fractions and whole numbers, you can multiply and divide. So that's just a powerful tool. You pre-create your estimates just like you pre-create your material items, and the estimates are better because when you put those into the assemblies are better because when you put those in the estimate, it already has the quantities and the lengths encoded into it, so it's a time saver.